On a vast expanse in the Australian Outback, stretching over 700 kilometres, lies a highway that has claimed the lives of 12 victims. A road so notorious, it has been thought to attract the likes of serial killers, who use the area's remote location as their hunting ground. A haunting highway so terrifying, locals refer to it as cursed, and tourists are warned not to travel alone or at night, solidly earning its alias of the Highway of Death. Welcome back to another episode of Shadow Matter, and today we're going to be talking about the Highway of Death in Australia, not to be confused with the Highway of Death in Kuwait and Iraq during the Gulf War. The Highway of Death in Australia is located in North Queensland, a 770-kilometre stretch of road between Townsville and Mount Isa. Its proper name of the Flinders Highway, or A6, is what most locals refer to it as. However, in the last few years, it's been known by various media sources as the Highway of Death. Its nickname, deriving from a series of unsolved murders and disappearances over 50 years, has earned it a terrifying reputation, with locals near one town referring to it as cursed. With 12 victims to unsolved murders and disappearances in the area, some authorities suspect it could be the work of a serial killer taking advantage of its remote location and using it as a hunting ground. Others believe it is more a spot of convenience, and the horrific crimes committed upon the highway are the acts of multiple people. So journey with me as we drift through the shadows on the Highway of Death. The crimes discussed in this episode contain graphic information that may be disturbing for viewers and may not be suitable for younger audiences. Discretion is strongly advised. For over 50 years, authorities have been stumped by cases that surround the area of Flinders Highway in North Queensland. One theory is that a thrill killer operates along the highway. Police have come across leads to support this theory, but so far, none have been conclusive. It is possible that the crimes are committed by several perpetrators who are attracted to the area because of its vast area and remote location, making it more ideal to hide bodies and avoid detection. A few of the crimes we're about to discuss have a connection and similarities, which would lead to suspicion of a single perpetrator, in turn supporting the theory of the aforementioned possibility. So let's take a look at the cases. On the 26th of August 1970, Judith and Susan Mackay, aged 7 and 5, vanished from a school bus stop near Townsville, Queensland, and were reported missing when they didn't return home after school. 2 days later, their bodies were found in a dry creek bed at Anthill Creek, 25 kilometres southwest of Townsville. Susan was found first. A trail of footprints led searchers 70 metres to Judith's body. Investigators speculate that she tried to flee after her sister was killed. Evidence of their deaths left police and searchers horrified. Both sisters had been assaulted, stabbed, and strangled. It is believed that Judith was still alive when she was buried in the sand. Their school uniforms were found neatly folded in their school bags, and their straw hats and shoes laying beside them. The horrific nature of the crimes left locals understandably outraged. One detective working the case vowed not to go home until the killer was caught. He worked night and day at the police station, with his wife bringing him food. Unfortunately, he died 2 weeks later of a heart attack. On the day the Mackay sisters went missing, a woman living at the Aiken Vale hostel near the bus stop saw the girls getting into a brown 1963 or 64 Holden sedan with a distinctive grey-blue driver's side door. This car was then seen again parked at Anthill Creek off Flinders Highway around the time of the murders. Witnesses described the driver of the car as around 5'9" in height, dark-haired, grubby, and wearing a white t-shirt. A petrol station worker said they saw Susan Mackay in the car mentioned prior. As the worker filled up the car for an adult male driver, she states that she saw Susan with red eyes, appearing as though she had been crying. The witness also states that the older sister, Judith, asked the man, "When are you going to take us to Mummy? You promised to take us to Mummy." To which the man snapped back and told her to go back to sleep. Another witness said he confronted a man who cut him off in traffic and saw 2 girls in school uniform inside the car. 2 of these witnesses claim that the car was in fact a blue Vauxhall Victor, while the first witness claims it was a Holden. So to this confusion on the make of car, police dismissed the 2 accounts of the Vauxhall Victor and along with the media were convinced the car was a Holden. Police offered a $10,000 reward, but ultimately the case went cold for over 30 years. when Crime Stoppers received a call from a victim of a suspect known to police. But more on that later. On the 4th of July 1972, student nurses Robin Hoynville-Bartram and Anita Cunningham set out from Melbourne and planned to hitchhike to Anita's mother's house in Bowen. The two friends aged 18 and 19 made it to Mount Isa from Melbourne and headed east along Flinders Highway, stopping in Pentland. This was the last time they were seen alive. 4 months later, on the 15th of November, Robin's body was found in a shallow grave approximately 80 kilometres west of Charters Towers in Sensible Creek, under a bridge on the Flinders Highway. Evidence of the scene suggests that she had been sexually assaulted and shot twice in the head with a .22 caliber rifle. Anita was never found, but it is suspected that she too was murdered. Because Robin and Anita weren't locals to the area, it may be quite hard to pinpoint a situation that would seem out of the ordinary. As with the prior case where the two sisters were locals and therefore recognizable to the public, the only witnesses we have for Robin and Anita are the staff at the Pentland Hotel. Detectives were told by the staff at the hotel that the girls were hitchhiking and seen leaving the pub with a man they knew as Cowboy. They intended to head to Charters Towers, another 100 kilometers east, but never made it to their next stop. A reward of $250,000 and immunity from prosecution failed to produce any serious leads, and the case remains unsolved. Several infamous criminals have been linked to the case, including Ivan Milat and the Whiskey A Go-Go bomber John Andrew Stewart. But more on the suspects later. 18-year-old Catherine Graham was selling books door-to-door in Townsville on the 29th of July 1975 when she was last seen. Catherine's mum says she received a phone call from her daughter at 8:19 p.m. from a payphone. She claims that Catherine was panicked and quite concerned about a strange man she had spotted on her route. "There is someone peering at me, Mum, and I don't like the look of him," she told her mother. The next day, about 5 p.m., her badly beaten body was found near the Flinders Highway at Anthill Creek, just 500 meters from where the Mackay sisters were found 5 years earlier, and police admitted that the act of burial was similar in both cases. In 2019, the Queensland Cold Case Investigation Team offered a $250,000 reward and indemnity from prosecution to help generate new leads. The case remains unsolved. Karen Edwards, 23, Timothy Thompson, 31, and Gordon Twaddle, 21, set out on a motorcycle trip around Australia in 1978. The trio planned to ride from Northern Territory to Cairns and then head down to the east coast to Melbourne in time for Christmas with their families. The group was also travelling with Karen and Timothy's 9-month-old Doberman Tristy, who rode along in their homemade sidecar. They were last seen leaving Moondarra Caravan Park on October 5, 1978, after getting into a Toyota Land Cruiser of an unidentified man they had befriended. They left their motorcycles and their belongings along with their beloved dog at the campsite. The next day, their gear and motorcycles were removed, and their dog Tristy was found at the local dump. It wasn't until the 24th of October that a dog walker stumbled upon the body of Karen Edwards propped up against a tree in Spare Creek, 10 kilometers north of Mount Isa. Police searched the area and found the bodies of Timothy and Gordon in a similar way to Miss Edwards, and found that all three had been shot in the head with a .22 caliber rifle. A week later, the rest of their belongings, except for the motorbikes, were recovered at the dump. Mount Isa local Bruce John Preston was caught with Timothy's motorbike, but claimed he had found it and was only charged with theft. Eyewitness accounts claim that Preston was the unidentified male driver of the Land Cruiser when the trio were last seen, but more on that soon. 20-year-old Anthony Tony Jones from Perth was on the final leg of a 6-month working holiday hitchhiking around Australia in November of 1982. He told his family and girlfriend that he had planned to meet his brother in Mount Isa on the 3rd of November via telephone call from Townsville. His parents transferred $150 to split with his brother when they would meet up, but Tony never touched his bank account, and he was never seen or heard from again. In 1983, an anonymous letter was sent to police claiming Tony's body was located in the Fullerton riverbed near Flinders Highway. After an extensive search found nothing, authorities concluded that the letter was a hoax. The Queensland police were highly criticised at the time of the investigation. An understaffed and poorly skilled missing persons unit failed to interview witnesses, statements were not properly taken, and leads were not followed up. Adding to that, a sketch of a person of interest was not released for 10 years. In 2011, a Mount Isa Correctional Centre inmate Michael James Launders came forward claiming to have killed Tony, but died before he could make an official statement. In 2014, the police received new information indicating that Tony may have been murdered in Hughenden, but his body has never been recovered. There is a $250,000 reward for information, and the case remains unsolved. 26-year-old Reese Kearney was living with his parents in Gelatin at the time of his disappearance. Reese was reportedly in an emotional state after attending the funeral of a close friend who had passed away suddenly. He smashed his phone and then left the house with his motorbike and taking only the clothes on his back. The family believes he was attempting to make his way over to Normanton to see his brother and may have had a crash along the way. On the 21st of December 2017, Reese stopped to fill up his 2012 Bonneville Triumph motorcycle at a roadhouse in Charters Towers. This was the last time he was seen. His motorbike was found some months later on February of 2018 at a Telstra tower on the Newcastle Range, approximately 20 kilometres from Georgetown. A few weeks later, and some clothes belonging to Reese were recovered. Reese has not been located, and investigations have failed to find any trace of him. On New Year's Eve 2017, 22-year-old Jaden Penno Thompson from Newcastle was driving with a friend to Cairns to visit friends in time for a New Year's Eve party, travelling along the Flinders Highway and stopping at a Charters Towers roadhouse at 3:30 a.m. on December the 31st. After the pair had an argument, Jaden pulled over at Stockroot Road and stormed off. His friend moved into the driver's seat and drove off, but later returned to try and find him. His friends and family didn't immediately report him as missing as they thought he was hitchhiking to his next destination. Jaden's mother, Rachel Penno, received a text message after she had contacted about his well-being, and he replied, "Yeah." This was the last time anyone had contact with him. Extensive ground and air searches in the days after Jaden's disappearance failed to locate any sign of him. His bank and social media accounts have remained inactive since. Jaden's mother, Rachel, has since hired a private investigator through crowdfunding sources after being dissatisfied with an outcome of an inquest that determined Jaden most likely died due to the harsh elements of the wilderness. Rachel believes it was a drug deal gone wrong after receiving information from the private investigator. The case for Jaden, while officially being declared as death by natural causes by a coroner's inquest, has others speculate it could be something more sinister. The private investigator for the case believes that the Flinders Highway may hold more answers to his vanishing than previously suspected. On the 23rd of September 2009, 58-year-old police sergeant Michael Isles vanished from Ayr in North Queensland. Isles disappeared while en route from his Ayr police residence to a training course in Townsville. After Michael's wife alerted police that evening, a shotgun was found to be missing from their gun safe, and an undated note was uncovered suggesting suicide. Michael was in a dark place mentally after being diagnosed with cancer and being accused of misconduct. His car was found later abandoned in a creek bed not far from Flinders Highway. The state coroner confirmed that Michael had ended his own life, but with extensive police searches of the area failing to locate his body and the missing shotgun, speculation continues about what happened to him. The first suspect on our list is Andy Albury, a convicted killer who was serving a life sentence for the murder of an Aboriginal woman in 1983 in Darwin. In 2014, Albury confessed to 14 murders, including that of Tony Jones, along the highway between 1970 and 1982 to Detective Les Chapman, who didn't say which cases he had claimed as his own. This confession was dismissed as Albury was known to lie about other murders he hadn't committed due to a delusional mental disorder, also adding to the fact that Andy Albury was still a child when some of the murders took place. As mentioned earlier, Bruce John Preston, who was connected in suspicion to the Spare Creek murders in 1978 of Karen Edwards, Timothy Thompson, and Gordon Twaddle, lived as a local in Mount Isa. When he was caught with one of the victims' bikes, he was only fined $300 for the theft, but I imagine this put him onto investigators' radars. He told police at the time of the murders he wasn't even in Mount Isa, but in an interview 40 years later, he contradicted this earlier statement and said that he was. Police arrested Preston in April 2019 after following 50 leads in which witnesses claimed that the mystery man of the Land Cruiser, in which the victims were last seen, matched the description of Preston. In court the following year, January 2020, Preston was granted bail after the judge declared some of the evidence may have been exaggerated. Bruce John Preston retains his innocence in the case. In 1998, Crime Stoppers received a call from a victim of a serial pedophile, Arthur Stanley Brown, who suspected he was involved with the murders of Judith and Susan Mackay in 1970. Brown was known to take many of his victims to Anthill Creek to be molested. In one instance, to a location only 20 meters from where the Mackay sisters were found. Shortly after the murders, he also replaced an odd-colored door from his blue Vauxhall Victor and buried it. He told his family he only did this because he didn't want the police bothering him. Brown was long a suspect in the case, and police charged him with the 1970 murders of the Mackay sisters. The trial resulted in a hung jury. He was declared unfit for trial because of dementia and later died in 2002. What's interesting is that Arthur Stanley Brown was also a suspect in the disappearance of the Beaumont children from Adelaide in 1966. John Andrew Stewart, also known as the Whiskey A Go-Go bomber, who firebombed the Whiskey A Go-Go nightclub in Brisbane in March 1973, killing 15 people. A man named Randall Wilson claimed to have met Stewart at the Pentland Hotel around the time of the murders of Robin Hoynville Bartram and Anita Cunningham in November of 1972. Quote, "I left him to go roo shooting about dusk, and when I got back, I found just about all my gear, including my money and 21st birthday presents, was gone." End quote. Wilson claims that Stewart also left a single pair of clothes laid out like a body. The stolen clothes and gear were later found at the Sensible Creek Bridge, very close to where Robin's body was found. Stewart was jailed for the nightclub bombing, but later died in jail in 1979, before police could question him about the murders at Sensible Creek. So while some suspect that the Flinders Highway has been terrorized by a single predator, evidence suggests that the remote area is more likely an attractive location for several killers. With the victims' range in ages and periods of time adding to that, the victims of both genders and varied causes of death would not be conclusive with the acts of a single serial killer. Or perhaps it's the highway itself that is the danger to travelers. Being so remote and isolated, if you were to be stranded there, you might find that the Outback is not so forgiving. What are your thoughts on these cases? Please let us know in the comments.